everyone, welcome to the first case of financial risk management class. Today I'm Mardiana Ridwan, Mr. Nopri, Mr. Rizka and Miss Vidya will elaborate about the problem of United Grain Growers or UGG. UGG was formed in 1906 and became a public trade company in Toronto and Winnipeg Stock Exchange in 1993. This company provides commercial service to farmers and market agriculture products worldwide. UGG helps farmers to plant, produce, and market their product, and also have four main business segments, such as grain handling service to assign and identify source of grain and oilseed, then deliver the products to exporter and domestic end user, such as food processor. Crop production service to provide input include seed, fertilizer, and crop protection product to farmers, while the farm sales and service division produce a range of consultation and financial service to farmer. The livestock service provide input to producer of cattle, hogs, and poultry. Business communication provide the information needed to run a profitable agribusiness, such as farm investor newsletter, and also develop web-based information on weather, news, and market price. UGG have some issue about the enterprise risk management and also need to identify the principal risk related to the decrease of the firm performance and UGG total asset. This is the analysis. Then we need to identify the major risks. First is environmental liability. This caused by the environmental damage such as unethical worker or use of the dangerous material. Second is weather risk. The unexpected changing natural weather such as change of temperature, rainfall, snowfall, etc. can decrease the production of grain and seed. This is the most unmanaged risk. Third is counterparty risk. This risk happen because the supplier or the customer do not fulfill the contract. Fourth is the credit risk. This risk arises because the borrower fails to pay the money back to the UGG. Fifth is commodity price. It occurs when the product price fall or change when the product still stored. Four main business segment except business communication was in charge of this risk. Six is inventory risk. This risk refers to the product loss or damage in the warehouse, worker error, or misplaced goods. All risk impact to the company profit except the environmental, which impact to the business operation.
Now, I will explain risk analysis. To show an analysis of risks that occur in a United Grain Grower, we use a 3.3 risk metric. Calculation and consideration based on the probability of risk occur and using the earning at risk estimation formulated by UGG and Willis report. Earning at risk is the amount of a change in net income due to change in interest rates over a specific period. The Willis developed earning at risk by the financial community to describe aggregate risk. EAR expressed a worst case loss set against a benchmark to expected profit within a specific confidence or probability level. The advantage of EAR was the simplicity of aggregating multiple risks into a single number. In this report, we know whether is earning at risk at 11.5, environmental liability at 2.5, counterparty at 4.3, credit at 1.6, inventory at 2.2, and commodity at 11.9. All risks using 90% confidence level except commodity using 95% confidence level. Then, we try to estimate probability and risk impact based on table above. If we use risk metric 3.3, so we estimating is probability 0 to 30% is low, 30% to 60% is medium, 60% to 100% is high. And the impact is 0 to 4 is low, 4 to 8 is medium, and 8 to 12 is high. So we get analyzed from the risk is the weather has a high probability and high impact. Environmental liabilities has low probability and low impact. Counterparty has low probability but have medium impact. Credit risk has low probability and low impact. Inventory has low probability and low impact, and commodity has medium probability and high impact. From the previous section, we use it for risk metric, and this is the result. High probability is number one is the weather, medium probability and high impact is the commodity, and the other is low probability.
Okay, now we will discuss about risk evaluation. When we did risk analysis, we know that weather becomes the main source of unmanaged risk for United grain growers. The table you see here is the result of regression analysis of crop yields and weather conditions in two Canadian provinces using data from 1960 to 1992. Temperature is measured in degrees Fahrenheit and precipitation in inch. Let's see the first row of this table. The positive and statistically significant coefficient on the time trend variable indicates that Alberta wet yields have increased over time. Wet yields in Alberta are negatively related to the average June temperature. Finally, the positive coefficient on the average July precipitation variable indicates that crop yields increase on average with rainfall in July. In general, crop yields for wheat and oats have increased over time are negatively related average June temperature and positively related to average July precipitation. And we can use the regression results to assess how expected crop yields would be affected by deviations from normal weather conditions. For example, if temperature and precipitation were expected to take on their historical average values, then the predicted Alberta wet crop yields for 2000 would be like this function. And we get the result is 35.6 bushels per acre. And this is the relationship between weather and United Grain Growers' gross profit. So weather affected crop yields affected United Grain Growers' grain volume, and UGG's grain volume affected UGG's profit. And this is the graphic for United Grain Growers' actual gross profit compared with the gross profit if United Grain Growers can control the weather risk. As we see together, the gross profit without control weather risk is more volatile than the gross profit if company can control the weather risk. Okay. Next, we will discuss about alternatives of solution. 5 of the 6 risks that Willis analyzes could be managed through traditional methods. Okay. As for the company's exposure to weather risk, United Grain Growers managers explored several alternatives of solution. These alternatives of solution were: number 1 is retention. Retention meant United Grain Growers accepted the risk and continued business as usual. By choosing this, the company faced a volatility in profit due to weather variation. There were 3 disadvantages of this situation. The first, if the company decided to use external sources to fund its large investment, they would likely have to pay higher rates due to the weather risk. In other words, high unsystematic risk will lead to high cost of capital. The variability in its cash flows caused United Grain Growers to hold extra equity capital as a cushion against unexpected low cash flows in any given year. If the firm could reduce its weather risk, it could increase the proportion of the firm financed with debt without paying higher yields, which in turn would allow it gain additional interest tax shields. Instability in the firm's cash flows would affect United Grain Growers' customers and suppliers' precipitation about the company's reliability in the long term. The only one advantage of retaining of the weather risk was that the company saved the costs associated with risk shifting and managing.
Solution number 2 is weather derivatives. Company hedge the weather risk by using derivative contract that will pay UGG money when the index is low. The payoff structure could resemble a put option, a call option, a swap, or combinations of these structures. Let's see the illustrations below. In part A, we assume that the relationship between gross profit and weather index is linear. When the weather index increases, crop yields increase, which in turn increases UGG shipment of grains and seeds, and as a result, would increase the company's expected gross profit. On the other hand, low values of weather index correspond to low expected gross profit. Part B illustrates a payoff using put option structure. When the put option payoff from Part B is added to expected gross profit from Part A, UGG's expected gross profit would vary with the weather index as illustrated in Part C. However, UGG would face several difficulties in hedging using weather derivatives when converting the analysis that was presented by Mas Nopri before into a desirable contract structure. Difficulties number one is that UGG had to choose which weather station or the right weather station to be the underlying index. And then number two, UGG had to assess the effectiveness of derivative contract in hedging its risk. And number three, that UGG had to obtain price quotes in marketplace that had relatively few participants. Solution number three is insurance contract. The primary reason weather was important was because it affected UGG's grain shipment. UGG could benefit from insurance by constructing a contract that would pay UGG when its grain shipments were abnormally low. Insurance works the same way as hedging using option. The problem in using insurance contract to address weather variations is the moral hazard. UGG's grain shipment was not only influenced by weather changes but also by pricing and services. Company could wrongly benefit from insurance by changing its pricing and services policy. To reduce this problem, instead of using companies' grain shipments, UGG could use industry-wide grain shipments volume, which would likely be highly correlated with UGG shipments volume as a trigger of insurance payment. From the article, we found that UGG had already purchased a number of different insurance policies for various traditional risk exposures, like property policies to cover its inventory exposures and liability policies to cover its liability exposures. And now UGG was considering an integrated insurance policy that covered those exposures, including the grain shipment volume. From the information that provided in the article, our group recommend that United Grain Growers use an integrated insurance contract that could cover its various of exposures, not just weather exposures, not just environmental liability exposures, but variations of exposures, more than one exposures. This solution is most efficient in our point of view because United Grain Growers only have to pay one insurance premium with broader coverage. And from this paper, we found that an ERM process could help companies to better understand what they do and the risks that they face. And those understanding will help the firm to direct those risks strategically to achieve company's goal. That's all from us. Thank you. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning.